Welcome to a look into the future. What would you do if you can go off into the future and ask yourself questions? How to grow your firm, how to be more successful, how to transition into advisory services, and more, whatever you wanted. Luckily, we don't need the flux capacitor. We can just ask the time traveler himself, Paul Latham, and learn the knowledge we need at our firms to evolve into advisory services and become the most relevant advisor to our clients, because that's what it's all about. I'm Garrett Wagner, your entrepreneurial CPA channel host, and I'm excited as always to be joined by the amazing, the legendary, the one-of-a-kind Paul Latham of Hay and Rock Solutions. Today, we've got a special show for you. Paul and I are going to talk about some fan questions. That's right, these are questions that you out there have sent in because you want to know the answer to. We've been amazed at how many questions we've gotten so far. So we're going to devote a couple episodes here to answer these questions. All right? If you got more questions, keep sending them in. But for today, the first question revolves around a really, really old concept. The pyramid. All right? We're talking about the pyramid, which is how, at least traditionally, firms have been structured. It's how your firm is probably structured today. Just like this. Staff are at the bottom, and there's more of them. And there's less and less as you go to the top, managers and partners. At least that's how it normally looks. So Paul, as we look to the future, as our readers want to know, what does this new staffing model look like when the old pyramid starts to go away?
Hi, Garrett. Yeah, interesting question. Some people actually refer to this almost like old model versus new model, old model being the pyramid you just referred to. I probably more mentally think about it as the old model being the profit sharing ratio based model, and the new model being more the equity model. But if we sort of just go back and think it through, the old model, it was really based on the career of people working in an accountancy business. And basically people joined an accounting firm, they went through that pyramid that you described, and they sort of, if they were successful, they worked their way up to becoming a partner. And, they'd start off by maybe being called a salary partner, then a junior partner with a smaller profit share, and eventually become a senior partner with a growing profit share. And the problem, I think, with the what you've just called the pyramid model or the old model or the profit sharing ratio model is that it becomes what I call dead men's shoes, because the bulk of the income is focused on a couple of people at the top eventually. And those people at the top, usually called senior partners, are focused on income. That becomes their vested interest, and they hang around for one more year and because they want the income. What they're not usually focused on is building long-term equity business value like regular business owners do. They're focused on their income, their profit share. They're not focused on building a business, which is what regular business owners do. And I happen to think that the new model, or the equity model, is just a better model, because what accountants would then be doing is following what every other business does, which is to build a proper business. And then you can begin to reward people like normal businesses do. And it's not just using, the profit sharing ratio, which is I always refer to as almost like having only one golf club in your bag. You reward people in different ways. Salary for doing a job, bonuses for good performance, dividends if you happen to own some equity value if eventually you sell those shares. But what you can begin to do once you follow that proper business model, you can begin to incentivize people just like any normal business. And there's within that pyramid you're describing, there are, in my head, two different sorts of people. I usually use the metaphor bacon and eggs. There's two animals involved in making bacon and eggs. There's a pig who makes bacon, and they're really, really committed to making bacon. They give their life for bacon. And there's a chicken who's really, really important in making the eggs, but they're not quite as committed as a pig. And if you think about that in terms of the people operating inside the pyramid, you've got plenty of people who they just want a job. They just want, they're not trying to be committed to the business. They just want a well-rewarded job. And so you can, once you've separated those types of people, you can say, look, okay, we're going to make your career interesting, salary, bonuses, and so on. But there'll be some people inside that pyramid that really, really want to become business owners. And they're like the pigs, and they need to be incentivized differently. They want to own equity, they want to take some risk. And so, in my head, it's it's obviously quite a wide subject, and we can talk about it more in a debate, but it's equity is better than profit share, and recognizing that pigs and chickens are different people. And once you begin to do that, you can begin to actually build teams of people that function well together, rather than just focusing on the people at the top. Hope that makes sense, Gareth.
That makes sense. I love those kind of like big analogies there. Dead man's shoes, bacon and eggs. They're great. And also like that you kind of said, because I hear a lot of people right now talking about what does this look like, and they kind of say, well, it was the pyramid, now it's going to become a diamond. They talk about shapes, but I like how you pivoted to it's not necessarily about the shape of the organization and where people are and what levels. Because I agree with that. When I've thought about it myself, I'm like, well, I'm not sure what the shape looks like. And really, you took it to that next level. The shape is irrelevant. Yes. What is more important is not the shape of the organization, but the goal of the organization. Moving past short-term trends to keep money coming in the owner's pocket and building long-term actual value like a business.
Yes. And I completely agree. I mean, and then when you get into more detail, and this is sort of going into a little more detail. See, if a business, say a business owner who's a CPA, wants to grow a business that's going to have more value, what they sort of need to recognise is that they need to position themselves as not being the hero in the organisation. They need to actually get their team to do the work, because if they wanted to sell the business, obviously they need to make themselves dispensable, as it were. And so where it takes you to is that suddenly the partner is not so much the hero role, in fact quite the opposite, and in fact the team take on more of the hero role, and you have suddenly we certainly introduced in our past client service teams, here's the person who's going to look after this, and here's the person who's going to look after that, and if you have different questions here, what you begin to build is a team ethos, which is the exact opposite of the pyramid where the partner is positioned as the hero, which I happen to think is a disastrous model.
I love it. It's also interesting when I hear, obviously you've been a partner before and in a very successful firm, of kind of you guys embrace that model. I'm sure that's what allowed you to pivot as a firm, of saying, us as partners are not the most important piece in this firm or this organization. The people are, the clients are, the team are. And let's shift that focus from short-term and us cash in our pockets to serving the clients and building long-term equity value.
Yes, and the team then begin to enjoy it more because they begin to understand their role and what they're trying to do and how they're important. And then that then takes you back to things like performance, because obviously once the team are playing an important part in servicing that client, then you can begin to reward particularly good performance, or obviously the opposite. And suddenly you've actually got the potential for everyone pulling together and teamwork in a very flat structure, but different people wanting different things. I mean, and by the way, although I say the partner's not the hero, I mean, I'm not saying they're not involved, but they're just not as involved. So I used to talk about, I would obviously meet clients, but it would tend to be what I called, I'd be there for the ceremonial occasion 3 or 4 times a year, but the team are working every day of the week and they're being properly rewarded for it. And it's just like a proper business. CPAs, unfortunately, structure themselves in such a way that they're the opposite of a proper business, usually.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. CPAs are not structured like the proper business. And that's why they're struggling so much. And that's why, let's get rid of the pyramid. Let's stop focusing on shapes. Let's focus on building long-term value.
Exactly. And one quick final thing. I mean, you only have to look at the partner's boardroom table. I think I may have said this before in one of our previous episodes, but everyone sitting around a partner's table is usually client-facing. You try and find a proper business, where everyone's a salesperson and no one is involved in running the factory. And you can see it everywhere you look in a CPA. They're not structured properly. They're not incentivized properly. They have the wrong model. It's no surprise to me that most of them fail.
Exactly. So if you're watching today, break free of the old model, do something differently, become the relevant advisor to your clients. Take that step, make that pivot at your firm, at your organization. So Paul, that's all the time we have for today. I want to thank you for sharing this insight, this wisdom. I know I always learn something new and enjoy our conversations. I know everybody out there does as well. Now, something else we talk about behind the scenes, and it plays directly in this topic today. We talk about, most CPA firms they're not ready for this future. Like I said, they don't realize it. They're not quite sure how to pivot. They're not quite sure the problems they have and how to address it. So I want you to start thinking about that today. Because we know if you're watching up there, you want to become more successful at your firm. You want to ensure long-term value. So take a minute and sign up for the free biz survey and get an objective assessment of how prepared your firm is for the future that we just talked about. You know, for watching this show today, we're going to provide you the results of your biz score and equip pub meeting, as Paul likes to say. There's a link below wherever you're watching this. Click on the link, go to the landing page, fill out the biz assessment. See how you stand. I'm sure you're going to be very surprised by the results. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. Don't forget, you can click the subscribe to our YouTube channel, get the latest updates when they come out. And as always, we challenge you to take action today to change the world and invest in yourself.